Hello everybody and welcome to a new session for PBRTV. Today we're doing something a little bit different. Over the last couple of weeks we've been living up to our motto of keeping boating alive by talking with Paul Glatzel about boat training and practical boat tips, etc., while heading back out to sea, and brushing up on a couple of schooling while we're all at home. But today I'm talking with Tom Wills, who is from Sunseeker Torquay. Thank you, Tom, for joining us today. And we're going to talk a little bit about the brokerage side of things and an industry point of view on the relationship with running a business in the marine industry under lockdown during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, Tom, welcome this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little?
How are you doing? Yeah, thanks for having us.
Can you tell us a little bit about your business and how long you've been in the industry?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, hello everybody, and if you're watching, thank you. But so as Tom quite rightly said, my name's Tom Wills, and I am from Sunseeker Torquay, obviously based in Torquay, and we form part of the wider network of Sunseeker London Group. So we now have over 40 offices in Europe, and really are the biggest Sunseeker dealer Europe-wide, well, in the world really, but certainly within Europe. So we form a very small part of that business down here in the southwest, but we have clients based all over Europe. We have an office based at Torquay Marina, so we're actually on site there, and we look after a lot of our local clients, both with new Sunseekers and with the older Sunseeker models, which is still very important. We also deal with a lot of brokerage with us, so we'll sell anything probably north of sort of £20,000 upwards. Now, for some of our non-Sunseeker smaller listings in Torquay, we have a brand called One Marine, and One Marine is specifically sort of designed for non-Sunseeker listings. So on there, we have the ability to sell sailing yachts, smaller boats, some small ribs, that type of thing. And in the last 12 to 18 months, get my timings right, we've also become part of Axopar London Group. So we're now also a authorised Axopar retailer in the southwest, and that's really interesting as well. So for me, that's been really interesting to work with another new brand. I found that quite exciting. So we've already got quite a few locally with us, and we've got some new boats coming through for delivery. In fact, we've got one turning up in Poole tomorrow, 24 from Poland. And then we have a 37 in build, which is expected in the next few days, if the client's watching, very soon. So yeah, it's quite exciting. Obviously, Tom and I have both been in the marine industry for a long time, and this is the first time any of us have ever experienced anything like this. So it's interesting times, shall we say, but keeping positive, and the sun is shining, so that helps.
Obviously, having a relationship with Axopar, Axopar released a whole load of new boats at Dusseldorf. Can you tell us a little bit about their range for 2020?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know Axopar, I mean, it's a really interesting brand, and they actually only build 3 different sizes. So they do a 24, a 28, and a 37. The 24, great boat, sort of maximum horsepower 250, really a day boat, although you can get one with some beds on. It's more of a day boat. The 28 is just a step up from that. Really nice boat. You can have 3 different layouts. So you can have the pilot house or the cabin version, or you can have the T-top, which is very modern, looks great, or you can have the open, which is similar to the T-top, just without the T-top. So there's a few variants there, but the boat, as Tom mentioned there, that was launched at Dusseldorf was the new 37, the Axopar 37 series. So that is available as a cross cabin, which has got the cabin, I should say, which has got the pilot house, and then also again as an open, which is a new Spider, well, they call that the Spider, which is a new model, and then the 37 T-top as well. So great boats. The 37 is a big boat now. I mean, I saw Tom at Dusseldorf, and we both had a look around them, and they're quite substantial, aren't they? They're a big boat.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate locally to have a 37 cabin in build right now, and it's due offline any day, and that's going to be based down in the southwest. So we're really excited, and as far as I know, it's the first 37 in the southwest. I don't believe there's any more. So really excited about that. And it's got some really nice new features. It's got the gull wing doors, which I think I've seen on maybe a few boats, but certainly on the smaller boats, it's very rare to see that type of arrangement with a gull wing door effect on the forward cabin area. And it's really practical. It lets a lot of light in. It gives you different access into that cabin where your toilet is, or potentially could be, and your sleeping area. So it's a really nice feature.
It makes it feel a lot more spacious as well, doesn't it, when they're open?
Yeah, definitely. And I think when it was first out in the press, I think no one really knew how it was going to feel. But actually, when we saw them at Dusseldorf, it was a really nice feature. Power options at the moment are very similar. The 350s or the 300s, predominantly on the 37s. I think there probably are a few things. Tom might know more about this than I do, but there's a few things more coming through the Mercury ranks. Whether that will change in due course, I don't know. But it's amazing. It's a lovely product to sell. We just, in fact, this morning I was down on Torquay Marina, and we're doing a handover on a 28 T-top, which we had in Torquay from the start of the year. So that's sold, and again, that's going to Dartmouth. And it's a lovely boat. That one's got the Brabus line package on it, so the black detailing. It's got the 300 V8 Mercury. Lovely bit of kit.
Before we go on to things under lockdown and the COVID situation, can you tell us very, very briefly what the difference is with the Brabus line and the Brabus Marine full editions, the black editions?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, the Brabus line really, I've often referred to it as it's a bit like buying a car with the performance pack. So there is a full Brabus version of the Axopar boats available, which is a Brabus Marine product, which is a different product again. But the Brabus line package is really designed to emphasise the look of the Axopar range. So as an example, if you were to buy an Axopar 28 and select the Brabus line package, you would get a black rubbing strip, which you would normally be grey. The stainless steel rails on the side would all be powdered or all be anodized black, and along with any other stainless work. And it really just makes the boat stand out. And it's amazing how those few changes can actually make such a difference to the style of the boat. Now, of course, not everybody likes that look. Some people still want the more original classic grey rubbing strip and the stainless steel work, which is fine. And we're still supplying a number of those boats. But the Brabus line package does certainly make the boat stand out. And it's all detail. It's things like the Axopar logo on the side of the hull, which has become a bit of an icon for the Axopar boats, is finished in black rather than the chrome. And just things like that with a little Brabus logo. And it just really helps to set the boats down, make it stand out.
Great. So, as somebody who's actively involved in both ends of the industry, you've mentioned that you've just been doing a handover. How have you experienced the lockdown, and have you had some customer feedback, etc., about being in the marine industry under COVID-19?
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging. I mean, we were just PDIing that boat this morning. We're going to take it to Dartmouth on Thursday. And I've already had the conversation with the new owner. It's physically his boat. He owns it. And I said, look, I want to give you the boat. It's your boat. You're obviously welcome to come down to use it. But at the same time, we have to adhere to the government rules and regulations with regards to social distancing. And I think that's going to take some time to get used to. In the last week, I've probably done 4 or 5 brokerage boat list viewings, and each one of those is challenging. I have to admit, you're meeting clients, some of which I knew, some of which I didn't know, and you're meeting them for the first time. Well, the obvious thing is you can't shake hands, which would be the normal way of greeting somebody you don't know. And then when you're on the boat, if it's a smaller boat, one of the boats I showed last week was a Sea Line S23, which is a nice little boat. But as you might know, Tom, they're not the biggest boats in the world, and it's a case of just physically being on the boat together. So one of the ideas which I want to try and start getting used to is to actually FaceTime the clients when they're on board the boat. So I think a sensible method to do the social distancing would be for me to go onto the boat, open it up, get the keys, obviously get the lights on, make sure the boat's okay, then let the clients on, and I could then FaceTime them or WhatsApp video call them whilst they're on the boat. Now, the important thing with that is it gives me some dialogue with the client as they're looking around and can answer any questions that they might have there and then. But it also gives us the seller, because in brokerage, we must remember that the seller is the client ultimately, and we must make sure that their asset is being well looked after. And not I've ever had any issues, but it just gives the seller that peace of mind that even though I physically may not be on the boat with them at that moment, I am still there on the video call, and I would have a fairly good idea if something mischief was going on. Like I say, it's never happened, but it's just giving both the buyers and the sellers comfort that we're there.
Yeah, you want to have give the current owner of the boat confidence that you're looking after it. At the same time, you want that relationship with the new customer where there is a level of intimacy where you're showing the boat and this is this particular section and explaining, a section forward or aft, and you can't do that without being 2 meters within them. So the way that you're doing that is pretty intuitive.
And the other thing is what we've had. I mean, it was amazing, and we were looking at our sort of demographics and inquiry levels throughout the pandemic, and actually, it's amazing how many inquiries we have had. And I would say, on average, I've probably had at least 1 inquiry a day, generally on boats, whether it's a small boat, a big boat, an Axopar or an Axopar. So it is amazing how resilient the boating world is to this. It was obviously good news last weekend to have the marinas open. Personally, I'm sure you'll agree, Tom, but being based in the southwest, I'm quite keen not to let everybody come down here too quickly, because we've been very lucky with the stats so far. And I think it would be very unfortunate if that was to change. So I think certainly from what I understand, Torquay Marina have managed the situation very well. Although you're allowed to come and visit your boat and do jobs and actually now go out on your boat, you mustn't stay on board overnight. And I think that's a really important message to be relayed through all channels. But yeah, it's going to take some getting used to. I've certainly seen a significant increase in the work level in the last week to 10 days. I've been to the office every day, although we're not actually opening our office formally until the 1st of June. I have been down checking client boats, just sort of slowly starting the machine up again. And like I said, getting the Axopar ready to take him around to Dartmouth later this week.
Have you seen people trying to do some pretty crazy deals, and have you seen that the market value out of boats drop through this period? Me personally, I've been looking at the various different brokerage websites, and even just like a quick look on boats and outboards, you can see, various different, for the pleasure rib market, for example, brigs, ribeyes, cobras. There's a couple of Highfields, various different listings, and they're all kind of holding the normal money that you'd expect them to be listed at.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I've had the inevitable phone calls from the certain type of client that looks for the deal, and I always remind those clients that there's somebody at the top of the chain for boats that are deals, and it's usually us. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. But thankfully, very rarely do we actually see many boats sort of selling significantly under market value. My personal view of it is that we're so short of supply of good quality brokerage boats, and that's been the case for the last 2 to 3 years, if not more, that actually I always use an example of, say, a Fairline Targa 34. For us in the brokerage market, that is a sort of a very stable, almost a guaranteed sale. If you put a Targa 34 in the market at the right price and good condition, it's very likely it will sell. Now, the reality of the value of those boats going down because of the corona, I think, is very, very doubtful, because there's so many people that want to buy that one boat. If that boat was produced today at current market value, it would probably be £300,000-400,000. So at £75,000 to £80,000, it's amazing value for money. And that type of boat will certainly hold its value. I'm sure there'll be some changes on values, but perhaps that's overdue, and perhaps that needed to happen anyway. But I do believe that the good quality brokerage boats that have been well looked after will maintain their value. I think there's enough buyers out there for that.
Yeah. Do you feel that the lower end of the market will be more affected as the time goes on? Sort of we obviously know we've got most of the summer boat shows or events, trade days, etc., are either cancelled or postponed. So a lot of the sort of trade B2B and customer-facing events are obviously on a back burner currently. Do you feel that's affecting the market, or as you've said, you're still getting inquiries? So I guess is your business adapting in a different way?
I think so. I think naturally the lower end of the market, smaller boats, I think the owners of those boats may or may not indeed, but they may be more affected in their own businesses. And as a result, nobody needs a boat. We all like boats, but no one needs a boat. So unfortunately, maybe the boat is one of the first things to go. That said, I haven't seen it. I mean, like yourself, Tom, I do keep a bit of an eye on the boats and outboards and listings, and certainly the latest listings that come on, just to see what's going on. And I don't see any lowering in prices at the moment. Whether or not this is a ripple effect, and we'll have to wait a while for this to have to come through. I think for all of us, one of the best things at the moment is the weather. The weather for, I mean, is it day 57 of lockdown? And I was saying last night to my wife that I think probably how many days of rain have we had in the period? 5, 4? If that, of days it's actually rained, it's been very, very few. And I think that's actually helped to keep people's spirits up with boating, that, it is worth, working hard to keep these boats. I know, for example, MDL are doing a package where they're actually sort of helping clients with a bit of a refund on the months they haven't been able to use the boats, which is really good. And I think that's really positive. And it shows that everybody's working together. And interestingly, I've spoken to other companies based in Torquay that we deal with, balloting companies, engineering companies. And I do believe that we're all just going to have to work together a bit more. At the end of the day, we're all dealing with the same pot of clients effectively. There's enough business out there for everybody. And I think we all just need to work a bit more together. We've all got a bit reliant on doing our own thing and not talking enough.
Yeah. How have you found MDL as a berth holder there? How have they adapted their business to be able to keep within the guidelines?
I have to say they're doing a really good job. They have kept all their clients up to date with regards to what's going on at the marinas. They kept a sort of skeleton force on the marina throughout the pandemic. So there was always somebody in the dockie's office, as we call it, 24/7. Those two or three guys that have been doing that have been working extremely hard, and they certainly deserve a mention. The guys have got obviously having to develop and change their method of working. This morning, I found that all berth holders have been very considerate with regards to the way they're passing each other on pontoons. MDL published a video for their berth holders to watch, which gave some guidance on social distancing and just being careful and extra careful. So it's something that we're all just going to have to be careful with and mindful of. There's additional hand washes and hand sanitizer and that type of thing. It's very easy though, isn't it, Tom? I don't know, you might find it's very easy to become complacent, but I think we must all do our bit and be really careful.
Yeah, I think so. And from what I've seen, people are quite robust, and I think there was a lot of energy over last Wednesday's announcement. And but people on the whole seem to be boating pretty sensibly and making sure that their boats are fit for purpose and to go to sea, and that people are being still very sensible. And in my own town, etc., it hasn't really got that particularly more busy. So. And the lifeboat shouts, etc., have been lower than anticipated. So, it's good. It's good to also hear that businesses are able to trade, and you've been able to do some viewings and get boats prepared for handover during this very difficult time. So
exactly, and I think
carry on.
Going to say, so I think it is very important. Hopefully we're yet to, as many of your viewers may know, that the brokerage process involves surveying and sea trialing and things, and I'm yet to test those methods and how we're going to do that, but we're going to have to come up with a method of doing those two jobs. Some of the boats, as I mentioned, aren't that big that we work on, so we're going to have to be very clever with those, but it is doable. I believe it is doable, and we just need to keep moving forwards and keep positive and adapting our day-to-day activities accordingly.
How have you found your higher end of the market? So your Sunseeker customers, some brokerage customers that maybe are looking at that sort of 40 to sort of 60-foot vessel. Have you found that market is different to the smaller brokerage end?
I think the people are still there, and I was working with a couple of clients prior to this happening, and getting very close to doing some deals with those clients. And I think a couple of those have understandably put the brakes on their decision making because they've got their own businesses and their own scenarios they need to look at. But equally, we have found as a group, there's still clients out there that want to press on. They want to go boating. They want to enjoy life. And a very valid point is, what better place to self-isolate than on a boat? With the relaxation, with the restrictions now on travelling, we're very fortunate to live in this beautiful area of the country, and come boating with us. We'll look after you. We can get you berths. We can get your boats looked after. Again, as I said back earlier on, we need you to be safe. But those clients that are looking to buy the brokerage boats, the larger brokerage boats, or the new boats, we can look after your boat here on the south coast of England. And I know Mallorca's great, France is great, Croatia, Italy, they're all lovely places. But England's also very nice, especially when the sun's out. And if this weather continues, then it could be a really good season. I actually spoke to Peters and May a while ago, and just a couple of weeks ago, and said, look, are you laying on any more ships coming back from Lama, Gibraltar, Genoa? Because I think, some clients down there, if they actually looked at the numbers, they could start seriously considering bringing their boat back to England for use in this country. And I think it's important that they look at that and know that that is an option. It's very easy to put a boat on a ship, put it on the boat. A week later, it's back in Southampton. Move it to wherever you want to have it positioned for the summer and use it. We've got at least one client I look after. He's doing that at the very moment. He's coming back from Olbia, and it should be back in Southampton next week. So he's going to leave it up there for a few weeks, and then when he's allowed to stay on the boat down in the West Country, he's going to bring it down. So, it is happening. The new boats, certainly the conversations have picked up for myself in the last week. I feel a bit more confident now ringing clients and saying, look, we are moving forward with this now. What's your position? But we have to listen to their views and their comments very carefully. There's some good deals at the moment on some of our stock boats. So that's we can perhaps do some better deals now than we've ever been able to do. So as a salesman, that can often help to get that client to the next stage. We're not adverse to doing part exchanges. We'll always look at doing part exchanges. Just before lockdown, we took a Superhawk 43 as a part exchange from a gentleman in North.
Fantastic boat. Yeah.
Brilliant boat, lovely boat. We'd supplied it to him about 5 years ago, and he traded up to a Sanremo 485. So we took that boat as a part exchange, and it's already gone. So James Lumley and Spencer Brown on our Poole and Southampton offices. Spencer sold it. The boat was based with James and Swanwick. So that's, and I think it's gone to Denmark. So it's amazing the amount of boats that do get turned over within our group. And that's through some great social channels, media channels. We've got a new YouTube channel, which we're having some, I don't know if you've seen them, Tom, but there's some new YouTube videos going up with Sean Robertson and Chris Head. And they're doing sort of an official Sunseeker walkthrough on some of the new boats, which is really interesting. And Sean has got so many years experience, such a nice guy. And if you like Sunseekers, they're definitely worth a watch, because he'll probably mention and talk about points that you would never even have thought about if you'd have walked through the boat yourself. So that's really interesting. So we're trying to adapt. I think the virtual boat show is for lots of people very important now, and I think that's going to continue. We'll be interested to see what's going to happen with Southampton Boat Show. I heard last week the Cannes Boat Show is still going to happen, so that's really positive, and it's a very important show for our group. What the travel restrictions will be like that for us going to France, I don't know. None of us do, but hopefully by then it will have been relaxed, and we can look forward to doing some business there.
And what you were saying as well, with obviously these larger, smaller end of the super yacht market or large motorboat market, with people bringing their boats back to the UK, it's very true that as guidelines and stuff soften and we get further out of this pandemic, I think people will rekindle their love for UK boating waters, because we've got some phenomenal coastlines around the country, from the Welsh coastline. North Devon is absolutely stunning. Likewise, we've got Salcombe and Dartmouth, and or if you're Solent based, you could be both directions very, very quickly, can't you? Off to Brighton and various other places. So you've got some great cruising grounds in the UK that, if we haven't got that option to be abroad, there is still some fantastic family time that can be had on the water safely, isn't there?
Definitely, and I've actually had a conversation with a couple of people and said, look, you may have a bigger boat in Mallorca or France, wherever it may be, but how about having a smaller boat for this year in the season? And there's some boats out there that I would be quite confident to say, look, buy that. They're good value boats. You're not going to lose huge amounts of money owning it. Yes, you're going to have cost of ownership, but you've got that with any boat. But buy a Targa 34 for the season, get it clean, get it nice and ready for the summer, and you can have an awful lot of fun with it. And then come the end of the year, when everything's calmed down, sell the boat on. And the brokerage market is that quick pace that it can happen like that. You get the price right, and we've proved time and time again, it's all about price. It's just got to be just on that right price point with brokerage, and it will sell. especially with those more popular boats, as I mentioned, the Tiger 34s and Camargue 44s and boats like that.
Great. Well, it's been fascinating to have an industry insight into dealing with COVID-19 and how your business has adapted. I love the suggestion of doing the FaceTime to walk the customer through the boat, especially on the smaller boats where you can't be 2 meters apart. It's really encouraging to hear that you're still being able to trade and sell boats and move brokerage boats on as well. It's great to hear that you've got new large Axopars in the local waters for you. So no, it's really positive to hear that news. So Tom, thank you so much for your time today, and I'm sure we'll catch up again soon. So for everybody, thank you all for watching today. It's just a little brief industry cap really into Tom's business and the COVID-19 epidemic. But next week we'll be doing our training sessions again with Paul Glatzel. And we have a couple of other things planned as well, interviews with boat designers, manufacturers, marine engineers talking about the maintenance of boats, etc. So we're really wanting to develop this further. So thank you very much for your support, and make sure that you like, subscribe and share to our YouTube channel and on Facebook. And if you haven't already, we are offering our free digital subscription to PBR. So just jump onto powerboatandrib.com and you'll be able to see everything that you need to there. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Tom, thank you for your time, and see you soon.